Well, hi, everybody. This is Dear Mama Sal, and we are live on a Sunday afternoon, which means it's time for Soul Sunday. And I just want to say that this is going to be a fun one for me because this whole weekend we've been talking about joy, the joy of life. And the reason why we've been doing that is because one of the things that we learn when we're learning to cope with our lives is that quite often the easiest way to get yourself out of a funk is to make sure you understand what the opposite of what you're feeling is. For example, I was saying on Friday, it was the anniversary of the 9/11 bombings, but or plane crashes, whatever you want to call them. But the thing is, the opposite of that was joy. And so I focused this weekend, although I was sad and although I acknowledged everybody who may have passed in that tragedy, it's not going to help anybody by me being anything other than the opposite of that, which is joyful. Hi there, Jody. Good to see you. And so if you are watching for the first time, what we're going to be doing is two things. Number one, we're going to do some quotes because that's what we do on Sunday, but we're also going to do a meditation where I hope you will find great joy in that meditation. And I certainly have done what I can to make that happen for you. So, don't you just hate it when your tablet doesn't want to work? Wow, that's amazing. Come on now. I may have to do this on my, hi there, Sandy. I may have to do this on my phone because for some reason my tablet just doesn't want to give me the slides. Hi, Jeannie, good to see you. And so if you're new for the first time, welcome, and feel free to chit chat with the other viewers, the regulars. And if you are going to do that, just understand that the comments will be taken down after the broadcast. But the chit chat that I do in reaction to the comments will stay. So one of the things that I would ask of you is to be aware of that. And so if you want to say something to the group that is chit-chatting on the side here, and you're more than welcome to do that, can you just make sure that if you're talking about something that you don't want me to comment on, just make a note, Sal, don't comment on this, just so that I know. All right, so let me see what I can do here. Plan B, story of my life, right? So we're here to help you cope with life as best we can. And to understand, for example, that, hi Isabel, that joy is a choice. How many of you are beginning to really see that now? That what we choose to have as feelings are literally that, a choice. And we can feel sad and we can feel angry and we can feel frustrated. But for how long is our choice? And that is what we are constantly working on. We at DearMamaSal are a group of people that literally help each other go through life and to cope better with it. Whether that's coping with our feelings, whether that's coping with less money, whether that's coping with our stress, what we're working on is how do we do this better? And so if you'd like to be part of that community, come along with us. And we're more than happy to have people join us. And if you have a subject, a particular subject that you're struggling with that you'd like me to talk around, please let me know at dearmamasal@gmail.com. I will add it to the list of topics that I have. And today, Soul Sunday, when we're coping with stress, what we focus on is how do I become a better human being rather than a human doing? And I'm hoping that makes sense to everybody. We spend so much time doing. My wish for you is that we, on Sundays particularly, get a chance to be a human being. And how many of you just feel better hearing that? It's okay to take this time for you and just relax a bit. By the way, while you're doing that, I wanted to just acknowledge the fact that I know that we've got Charlotte's birthday coming up on the 23rd, but I notice in my spreadsheet, I have 2 gaps on it, one on the 13th and one on the 22nd. So if you know any of our viewers that are having a birthday on either the 13th or the 22nd, can you please let us know so that we can just sort that out in our spreadsheet? There must be a reason why I've got those 2 dates in there, and I just don't know what they are. I didn't mean to nuke anybody, but you know, I am a human being. And sometimes when I'm so busy doing, do any of you relate to that? You know, when you get really busy doing, you suddenly do something, you go, what did I just do? And in my case, I didn't even know I did it. We're going to be doing this guided meditation later on in the broadcast, but I will give you a heads up before I do it. And the reason for that is because some people who might be listening on the replay might be listening to it in a car or whatever, and I need to give them a warning, you know, not to be driving while they're listening to it. Or if they're, you know, listening at work and they're operating something, it's a really good idea not to have a guided meditation going on. So I will do a heads up on that. The first quote I have on joy is, find a place inside where there is joy, and the joy will burn out the pain. Thanks, Jody. Maybe you can update the spreadsheet for us. That would be awesome. Not now, but you know, after the broadcast. So Joseph Campbell said that, find a place inside where there is joy. Yes, Jeannie's saying she found great joy. She's just heard that the demolition was to begin. Oh, it's going to start on the 19th. So that you got a different crew. Now, you know, Jeannie, I'm a great believer whenever there is a delay like that, there's a good reason. I'm pretty sure that you're going to end up with a better crew in having a second one. And there's great joy in that. I've learned over the years that a delay like that, 9 times out of 10 has a really good reason behind it. One that we might not know, but there is a good reason. And by the way, for those of you who want to know what joy is, I don't know if any of you have seen the pictures that Emma has put up of her new puppy, Eve, but you just can feel the amount of joy that the puppy and Emma and the family are feeling with the introduction of this little bundle of fur. And so, to me, if you've ever had a puppy, you know what joy is all about, right? And you know, you also know, and this is the point that I want to make, that you can move from being really frustrated and suddenly you'll see a puppy playing and you will just start to laugh. And for any of you who've got pets, you know that feeling. By the way, a lot of you know that about children as well. That, you know, there's 1 minute you're so angry and then they do the cutest thing. And you just can just have this incredible feeling of joy. And that to me is just an incredible thing. Yes, joy is a new puppy, without a doubt. It's unconditional love, and we all deserve unconditional love. And so, but I want you to know that the greatest joy is in ourselves. Oh, I think I might have just found out how to get, there we go. I've just found out how to get my spreadsheet, my tablet to work properly. I did it by accident on my phone and went, oh, look at that. So I want to make sure that you all understand that joy is different things for different people. Can any of you think of a moment of joy for you that you can remember? Just, you know, it's like whenever you think of it, you are joyful. And the reason I say that is because I'm pretty sure that Sandy Sandy, did you bake? Did you bake the bread yet? Sandy's been on this mission for 2 weeks. She has been nurturing the starter dough, way more patience than I would ever have. And now it's time to actually bake some bread. And I keep thinking that she's going to choose whether she has had great joy getting this far or not. And again, whatever that loaf looks like, I hope she has the most incredible joy of knowing that she did something most of the viewers would never, ever take the time to do. And that brought me great joy, Sandy. I just want to tell you that it has brought me great joy to be able to watch you nurture your starter dough. And I thought I'd tell you a little story on this one, Sandy, which is this morning I was getting the dough ready for the dough that I will bake up tomorrow. And I put my mason jar down that's got my starter dough in it. And the most incredible thing was that when I lifted it up, I saw that the bottom of the mason jar had broken. Now, you know, I cannot afford to risk that there might be a tiny slither of glass in my starter dough. I had to throw all of my starter dough out, Sandy. And so I am sure that you're going, no. And then I can pretty sure that Jody is laughing with great joy because Jody knows that I am not somebody that would ever rely on one lot of starter dough. You're right. I am an heir and a spare person. Yeah, you see, Sandy, I knew that you would gasp. And that's why I always keep one starter and then a backup. All right, that the air is the starter I'm using with, and then I always have a little jar of backup. And so, can you imagine? I know that Jody is laughing because she knows that of me. But for the rest of you, can you imagine the joy when I went, my starter is gone, and then I have to throw it all away, and then to be able to go, but I have more. And the joy of that was awesome, which means I haven't got to spend all that time rebuilding a starter. And I have to say that I very quickly made, the new batch, and I was happy as a clam. And it's all ready for baking up tomorrow. So if we understand that joy is a choice, Jody's saying, I was saying, yeah, she's got a plan, no worries. You know me so well. All right, so Jeannie's saying, have you ever heard that if you break something or drop something, it means somebody is anxious? Well, Jeannie, have you ever heard that is pretty obvious? You know what I mean? It's like, sure, that's bound to work because somewhere in the world there's somebody who's pretty anxious. Right? So, but I presume you mean somebody close to you is? But that's, no, I've never heard that. My mother probably would have told me that 1,000 times. My mother was the most superstitious person in the world in lots of ways. But it's just like, there's part of me today that doesn't even want to, yeah, your mother used to say that, right? Okay. My mother used to say all sorts of things that I have reprogrammed my mind with, Jeannie, because my mother, had more negativity in her life because of those little things than you can imagine. If she would sort of do that and not only worry about the fact she'd broken the glass, but then she'd also be going, who is it that's anxious? And she'd be phoning everybody up to try and find out. No. All right, so listen to this one. Yeah, Jody's saying, I think the person breaking or dropping something would be pretty anxious. But Jeannie, I love that you added that because it brought back memories of my mom, and that brought me great joy. Sandy is saying, my love didn't exactly double in volume, but I'm baking her up pretty soon. I'm looking forward to getting that picture. By the way, you do know that the baking will make it rise even more. So that is the good thing. And by the way, Jody is pretty expert at baking bread. And I'm now getting much more expert at the hydration of my bread. It's got more hydration in it, which is a term that Jody will understand. But I'm getting a lot better at it. When you look at your life, what is it in your life that brings you joy? Can any of you tell me? I'm as I said, I'm pretty certain. Right. Sandy's saying, I've had a lot of fun nurturing this starter, a lot of joy in it. I want to tell you something, Sandy. I know that. All right? Because I've done it. I know you cannot possibly nurture. Do you talk to it? I talk to mine all the time. How are you doing today? Are you going to give me lots of bubbles today? I talk to my starter dough all the time. There's a lot of love in that starter dough. And what I want you to understand, Sandy, is that there are going to be days where you go, I don't have time for this. And what I'd like you to do when you're baking your bread is to go, I need, nice pun, Sal. I need to make time for this. There is something about making dough. There is something about being able to produce a beautiful loaf of bread that is just so good for the soul. All right, so for Jody saying, for her husband Lionel, her friends, and supporting others, that brings me joy. The way my friends make me laugh also brings me joy. Overcoming an obstacle brings me joy as well. And of course, the fluff ball, Daily, a little little white cotton ball that she has. And if you look at, we're all dealing with limited funds. Is it possible to have joy even though you have less? All right. And the reason I say that is because I've had the wonderful opportunity to travel a lot of the world. And I want to tell you that some of the most incredible joy I have seen have been with people who have next to nothing. It's like I have literally watched people with next to nothing and see that they are more joyful than so many people that I've met in my life, with lots of money and lots of things and lots of reasons to be ecstatically happy and joyful. But you know something? It's never enough for them. The Buddha said, when the mind is pure, joy follows like a shadow that never leaves. I believe that when we stop lying to ourselves, when we stop giving excuses for why we do things or whatever excuses we use for whatever reason, when we do less of that, our lives become more joyful. I have to give credit again and again to Bernice, who in the space of a month lost her father and then got diagnosed with diabetes. And yet, what I'm amazed to watch is the excitement and enthusiasm with which Bernice has put into the joy that she's put into the learning of how to live differently. And yes, sure, she went through that first couple of moments of, oh my gosh, you mean I can never have this again? No, She just said, let me work out what I can do and how much fun I can have with what I can do. And you can, I don't know if any of you have noticed that, but those of you who are part of the fitness group, but you know, you can just feel her excitement when she finds the next thing that she can eat and testing it. And, you know, I want to give that moment of hope to Niesha, who just got diagnosed with diabetes as well, or has just started to wake up to the fact that she had the diagnosis a while ago, but did nothing, but now has, you know, a serious case in her hands. So what you all need to know is how we tackle this, how we approach it will affect our lives. You know, Jeannie's saying, travel brings me joy. The Portuguese seemed so happy at their jobs, and how strong the Israelis seemed even when they worked so hard. Yes, I quite agree. Anybody who's had the wonderful opportunity to travel, you also get to realize how lucky and really blessed we are in the world. And so, yes, I think anybody who can have the joy of travel is great. And that you can appreciate those things is joyful to me. And how many of you are coping with new habits and finding them joyful? I started a new habit this week. I really do work at doing that for myself. You know, I look at my life and I go, what am I not happy with at the moment? And therefore, what am I going to focus on? And as you know, that this whole process of moving and unpacking, and I keep getting a tidy house and the next minute it's a nightmare. And so this week I stopped unpacking and doing stuff that was going to make more mess, and said the next week I am going to spend one day each week just concentrating on one room, tidying it up. I don't have to do anything other than get it tidy. And yesterday was my day for tidying in the kitchen. And I want to tell you something. It brought me such joy when I woke up this morning and walked into my kitchen and went, yay, that looks a whole lot better. And of course, for those of you who were watching the Friday broadcast, you know, playing with Nigel the Ninja, that's what we call him, what I call him. Nigel the Ninja. He's my new food processor, blender, and smoothie maker. And he is awesome good. I went to make dough. You know, I literally put everything in a bowl as I would normally do. And I went, no, I've got Nigel. I don't have to put it in a bowl anymore. And I literally hacked it all into the processing bowl of Nigel the Ninja. And I threw in the other bits that I wanted in there, you know, put the lid on, went, you know, and this was like, oh, golly gee, look at that. Great joy in that moment. And by the way, what I have done is on the Friday noon broadcast, which was on feelings of joy, I actually have put up the direct link to the point in the cast where I unpacked him. So if any of you want to see the joy on my face, and the reason I've done that is because a number of people actually wrote to me and said, it was great to watch you unpack that. The joy in your face was just wonderful. So I thought if anybody wants to see what joy looks like, it's in the notes below the video of Friday's noon's broadcast. That's interesting. Niesha's saying, oh, you gave it a name. That's nice. I name a lot of things. Do any of you? It gives me joy. My car has a name. It's called Mickey. You know, I like to me, they become part of my life. You know, my halogen is called Hal, thanks to Angela in Vegas came up with that Sal and Hal, the halogen. So, you know, yes, I do name things because to me, it personalizes them. Let me ask you something. How many of you like to be called by your name? How many of you enjoy it when I call you by your name? And you see, to me, I think it's a two-way trade. I feel good when I can call you by your name. You know, it makes me feel good, and I hope it makes you feel good too. That's nice. Jeannie's saying, my car is Nelly, the Nitro. Yeah, exactly. So Nigel, the ninja, makes perfect sense to you, Jeannie. So understand that when you, I noticed that Nyasha was saying something that making bread is so therapeutic. It's a great stress reliever. Yes. I want to tell you it, and also it gives you the cleanest nails. Have you noticed that yet, Sandy? It's just like, wow, you know, you literally get the whitest nails when you bake bread. You know, it's and what I realized was it must be the bread dough drying underneath your nails, and then when it chips off, it takes any residue away from the bottom of your nails. So to me, it's like I'm trying to do that so you can see that they are pretty white. Yes, Sandy saying, yep, I was laughing about that today. So I think that's all right. So that's interesting. Jeannie's just had a fond memory that her dad named her Jeannie for her after her deceased grandmother, who was called Jenny, and he wanted those two syllables. Yeah, I think most of my dogs have had two syllables as well. That's interesting. Yes, you're saying I've never been able to stand in my kitchen long enough to make anything. Well, you know, I spend more time in my kitchen. Oh, maybe here and my kitchen. Those are the, you know, when I checked out the house, I knew I would spend a lot of time in the kitchen. And therefore, that to me was a very important room. And for those of you who saw me trying to make 5 meals in 2 hours whilst talking on Friday evening, I want to tell you, just as a follow up on that, it gave me great joy afterwards, because when I put it all into the meal prep things, I realized that I had cooked way more than 5 meals. Yes, Ginny's saying her kitchen gives her joy as well. Yeah, I realized I'd made much, you know, more than 5. So those of you who missed that broadcast, I literally cooked pasta, I cooked rice, I cooked China mein noodles, I cooked sausages, I cooked, I made a chicken salad. You know, I did all of these things at the same time within 2 hours. And my kitchen was an absolute mess at the end of it. Oh, that's interesting. The just saying the photo you posted within the group belonged in a magazine. It looked so beautiful. Thank you. And Jeannie saying, I loved hearing about all the things you cooked with ground chicken. Well, you know something, Jeannie? Let me share something with you. I've never bought ground chicken before. But, you know, to me, one of the things I love about being Dear Mama Sal is I go, what can I have fun with today? And I thought, why don't I buy something I don't normally buy and try and work out how many different things I can do with it within 2 hours? Do you understand? That's what brings me joy. I think some of you who know me well know that. Now, the fact I didn't finish it all perfectly is not an issue for me. I'm hoping that some of you were inspired to maybe, you know, spend $6 on some ground chicken and make some new meals. And I still thought we didn't do lasagna. We could have done a chicken lasagna. And, you know, so I've got another batch of that. So we might try that one day. Think about this one. It is not joy that makes us grateful. It is grateful that makes us joyful. Jeannie's saying, no problem, you did so much. Well, I want to tell you something, Jeannie. I was looking at it later and I thought, boy, that looks so complicated in lots of ways. Would it have been better if I'd just done one? You know what I mean? It's just like, Sal, it was, but, to me, it was like the interesting thing was to actually to just be doing it. And, they're all in the right sizes. That's the main thing for me. It was, if you noticed, I cooked rice, but I only cooked one portion of rice. And by the way, brown rice takes twice as long to cook as white rice. And then, I'm pretty certain some of you going, how can you have chow mein noodles when you're diabetic? Well, I can if I portion it. I found out that if I have the right portion and I don't eat much during the day, and I can enjoy that with extra vegetables and stuff in it. You see, that brings me joy. Jody, our admin, for those of you who don't know who Jody is, Jody is our admin, and Jody has taught me so much about being a diabetic, and that once you get control, it's amazing what you can do. Jeannie, I don't know about you, but I was pretty horrified to find out that only 2 ounces of pasta was a portion. It's like, seriously? But again, if you only have pasta once a week, all right, this is like, it's a portion. It's not a plateful. Was that Sandy's comment? What is a portion? And she said, a plateful. I loved you for that. I thought that was, why? Because I'm pretty certain you weren't the only one that agreed with that. All right, and so Niesh is saying, I had my lunch a little while back. It consisted of rice. How much rice did you have? Fresh vegetables and a lot of onions. The onions replaced ranch dressing. There you go. You're learning to swap. There you go, Niasha. That makes us joyful, that you're learning that you can make swaps. Now, the question is, how much rice? Because I'm pretty sure that in your environment, for those of you who don't know, Niasha lives in Tobago, that the portion size is probably a huge ladle full of rice. And so you will learn that maybe a little bit less rice and more onions or more vegetables will be even better. Rice, I had plenty. Yes, you need to be careful because rice also has sugar in it. Did you know that? And so we will continue to teach you these things, Niasha. That's what it's all about. So, but it's good that you're beginning to do the swaps. Ah, yeah, you didn't know that, did you? Jody will talk to you about that. So, yes, Jody's saying the portion sizes in the US are absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, we found out on Friday's broadcast, one of the things we were talking about, right, was that a portion of meat is only 3 ounces. Now that's that's like this size. It's a tiny piece of meat. But what I've done is I've bought little tiny mason jars, so I know I can fill that with meat, and that's a portion. All right. And the same thing, Niasha, is I allow myself half a cup of rice, or maybe you start by cutting down to a cup of rice. All right. So Jody is just giving us that the carbs in rice turn directly into sugar in your system. Yeah. And that's why you have to be very careful of rice. But you learn this. You see, don't get despondent about it. Don't get upset about it. This is what I need to learn. No wonder I've got a problem. I didn't know these things. All right, we're about to do the meditation. And so this is a heads up to anybody who might be listening to this on the replay. If you happen to be driving a car listening to this, please stop the tape or the video. I say the tape, isn't that funny? I still think about cars and tape players. And then my mind immediately went to an 8-track. I'm that old. And that brought me great joy. Good music on 8-track. Okay, so if you're in a car, please please do not listen to the meditation while you're driving. The reason is I'm going to bring everybody's wavelength down. The next thing I want to say is you happen to be listening at work. And, I'm thinking about Beth and her box cutter. Maybe not a good idea to listen to a meditation if you've got a box cutter in your hand, Beth, or anybody else. If you're using machinery or anything and listening to this, don't, right? And listen to it when you're safe at home and you can sit comfortably and just relax. For those of you who are in the room chit-chatting, please understand that once I start this meditation, I will not be able to answer any comments because I will need to concentrate on what it is I'm doing. And before I do that, I just want to say that Henry Nouwen said, joy does not simply happen to us. We have to choose joy and keep choosing it every day. And so what I'm about to do for you is to give you a way of being able to bring joy into your life every day. Jody, I wonder if you can just make sure that people don't comment about other things other than the meditation while we're doing that. Just keep them in that sort of mentality if you can. Nyasha, I would ask you just to be very aware we're about to do a meditation, so we want to stay on focus. It's a very good exercise for you to just keep with what we're talking about. It's not all about other things at this moment, right? When we normally do that. Good. All right, everyone. So I'm hoping that you're comfortable somewhere. You don't have to close your eyes. I know a lot of meditations make you close your eyes, but I think you found out last week and that you, and the week before perhaps, but that you don't actually have to close your eyes to feel the meditation. You just need to be willing to be part of it. However, if you'd like to close your eyes, know you are perfectly safe. Know that you are totally in control. If something happens, the doorbell goes, you'll be able to just get up, open your eyes, get up and go answer that. All I'm going to do is to bring down the vibration. I'm going to just do everything I know how to help you just relax a bit more, to breathe a bit more. So let's start with that. Let's just breathe a really nice deep breath and relax. Breathe in. And relax. And I want you to feel yourself relax. Maybe drop your shoulders a little bit. And for those of you who've got your eyes closed, maybe relax your jaw a little bit. Remember, you will be in control. And you will be as relaxed as you choose to be. Imagine for a moment that you're walking along a path near an ocean. And for those of you who can see that you can literally see yourself walking along a path, and yet at the same time, you are looking down at the ocean. I want you to be able to see as you walk that there is a beautiful beach there. And it is filled with joy. I wonder what you see. And by the way, when you saw the beach filled with joy, did it make you smile? Take a few more steps, if you will, and then you will see, wow, talking of steps, there's some steps going down to the beach. Don't rush. Take them slowly. You see, there is more joy on the way to the beach. So as you walk down the steps, focus for a second on where your feet are. And what do you see there? Can you see little flowers? Does that bring you joy? Can you see ants scurrying around, or maybe little birds are playing in just within your view? What is it that you can see that brings you joy? And smile. Take that moment of joy with you. And then continue down to the beach. And as you get to the beach, if you still got shoes on, you might want to take them off, because walking on a beach with bare feet, by the way, this is not a very hot beach. It's a nice, comfortable beach, one that you can easily walk on in bare feet. And how many of you find that joyful? Just the feeling of sand between your toes as you carry your shoes. And by the way, as you walk towards the edge of the water, what I wanted to find out is, how crowded is your beach? Is it joyful because there's so many people in it or on it having fun? Or is it joyful because it's a peaceful beach? This is your choice. And by the way, while you're walking, just take a moment to check, how long is the beach in front of you? Is it a long way? Or what about behind you? Is there more beach behind you that you didn't see before? Or is your beach like a cozy little cove? You see, each of you will have a different idea of a joyful beach. And just take a moment to stop and breathe. And then look up at the sky. Is it magical? Is it a beautiful color? Does it fill your heart with joy? Are there birds? Can you see the sun? Is it wonderful just to stand for a little moment and feel that joy? And now I'd like you to walk to the edge of the water. And I don't want you to walk into it. Just walk along the edge of the water. Yeah, you can play a little bit with your toes, flipping up some water. But feel the cool water. It's not cold. It's just beautiful, cool, maybe a little warm, whichever it brings you more joy. And as you just walk along the beach in the water. By the way, as you're walking in the distance, you can see what looks like it may be a sand castle. So I'd like you to just walk towards the sandcastle. And as you get closer, you literally go, wow, that is a magnificent sandcastle. And I want you to take a moment to enjoy the sandcastle. How is it big? Is it intricate? What does it have that makes it so joyful to you? And as you are studying it, notice that someone is walking towards you. And they are so joyful because you are obviously enjoying the sandcastle. And that person is full of joy that they want to share with you about how they built the sandcastle. And you might want to just ask them how long it took. Maybe ask them, how did they do that bit over there? Ask them any questions that you want to. And now, what I would ask you to do is, with that person, ask them if they'll walk with you a little way along the beach. And two of you, side by side, see yourself walking down the beach together. And then notice that you are chit-chatting and you are so full of joy and you are both laughing. And then spontaneously, you both start to act like children. What do you do when you're playing on the beach like a couple of children? And now I want you to feel the joy as you start running through the water with your friend, your newfound friend. And you are kicking up lots of foam and just having so much fun. And you are splashing each other. And there are shrieks of joy going on. And then you're going to race each other back to the sandcastle. Are you ready? Steady? Go. And feel the power of that joy. It's not about winning or losing. It's just the fun of the joy of being on a beach and being able to run in the sand. And that is regardless of what your physical limitations may be. You understand your mental limitations are not the same. Just because you physically might not be able to run, you can in your mind. And you can be so joyful about that. And then as you reach the sandcastle, I'd like you both to just flop down and just laugh and catch your breath a little bit. So full of joy. And then I'd like you to thank your new friend for playing with you. Explain that this is the most joy that you have felt in a long time. And in fact, you might even say how long it is since you've played in the water like that. And here's my message to you. Make sure that you hear that you can come back and play and feel this joy anytime you want to. Anytime you want to come back and listen to the meditation. So thank your friend and wave goodbye. Thank them for the joy that they brought with them today, and take one last loving look at the sandcastle, because when the tide comes in, it will not be there anymore. And that is life. And that's okay. Because the person who built it will build an even better one next time. And now go back to the stairs that you originally came down and walk back up the stairs to the park. And take your time. Enjoy the climb, because life is full of great joy and the occasional climb. But if on the climb you bother to stop and just check out what is still joyful on this climb up to the present, and then as you get to the top again, I'd like you to take a moment to just look back down at the beach and know that this is your beach. Sigh. Smile. And then come back to your present. Welcome back. So now we can talk. How did it feel? Apparently it was thirsty work for me. Jeannie was saying that the beach was long and the sand was fine, and the beach that she remembers. She wasn't in the present of the meditation. She was memorizing a beach. Interesting. Okay. So how did you feel while you were doing that? And thinking back on the meditation, when you first looked down at the beach, was it full or empty? You know, when we first started to walk along and I said, now look at the beach, was the beach empty or was it full of life? And if you can, let me know. When you walked down the stairs and I asked you to stop because there was joy to be found on the journey down to the beach, what was it as you were walking down? In your mind's eye, what did you see that brought you joy? Was it flowers? Was it bugs? Was it birds? What was it that you saw as you were going down? And for those of you who might be listening to this in the replay, just relive these moments because they're all important parts of your joy. And it's important to know what brings you joy. And let me ask the viewers in the chat now, which is, when you got to the beach, was it different? In other words, was the beach that you saw from on top, was the beach when you actually got down there, was it different? Right? Because sometimes the beach that we see ahead of us, and this is true of life, what we think we see and fear and get concerned about, when we actually get to that reality, it's not nearly the same. And it's possible that the beach that you saw will look different when you got down onto the beach level. And if so, be aware of that. Jody's saying, so relaxing. I love anything beach related. I heard seagulls. I walked on a deserted beach, gathering sea glass and shells. I could feel the sand in my toes along the shoreline. It was a brisk day with a breeze. You see, Jody, that tells me you were in the moment, right? You actually were in the moment of that, and that's great to hear. And it doesn't matter whether you relived one of your past or whether you were in the moment. It's just a different way. And the other thing was, when you looked at the beach, you remember I had you look ahead of you and then behind you. For the viewers here today, let me ask you, and for those maybe watching on the replay, was the beach vast, medium, or was it a cozy sort of cove? And it's really important to know what brings you joy. I can always remember, it brings up a memory for me now that I'm talking about it, of when I went to Hawaii. Remember, I'd waited a lifetime to go to Hawaii. And as I walked onto the beach of Waikiki, I remember it was pretty crowded, but I remember looking one way and the other and going, wow, I didn't realize this was the size of Waikiki. And also, it was fairly crowded, but not as crowded as I thought it would be. All right. So Jodie's saying that the beach that she walked in her mind, walked on in her mind, was a vast beach, barely anyone there, and it had scattered driftwood. And let me ask you, Jodie, did you think for 1 minute that you had lymphoderma when you were walking that beach? Did you struggle to walk it? Or did you walk it with ease? Jeannie's saying the beach was relaxing, long. It went on for miles. Very fine sand. Not many people there because it was private. Yes, Jeannie, that would make a lot of sense to me. Jodie's saying I could walk for miles in my mind. Jodie, I don't know if you know this, but if you practice that meditation and you practice walking in the sand, and literally as you do so, use the muscles in your reality, you will be amazed how you will build back strength. I know there was one time in my life, Jodie, where I was incapacitated. But one of the things I did was that I walked in my mind. And I did things in my mind to use my muscles. Does that make sense? Niesha's saying my beach is behind my family home. It's wide and I love going there just to play in the sand. Right? Yes. And you can continue to do that, Niesha, even if you only do it in your mind. Interesting. Jeannie's asking Jodie because she knows Jodie loves the beach as well. And she said that she asked Jodie whether the beach that she walked was Old Orchard Beach. Because if so, it was, yeah, and it was. So the two of you were walking the same beach. That's interesting. By the way, when you first saw the sandcastle, was it a cute little one or was it a huge, great thing? What did it look like? Give me some feedback on that. And then as you walked towards it, did it change in shape or size or intricacy? Niesha, I know that you are going to be doing more exercise because you know that is going to help you get healthier. But you don't think that, oh, I can do it in my mind. I don't have to do it in reality. You need to be able to do it in reality and then top it up with doing long walks in your mind. It'll help you relax. All right. So Jodie's saying her sandcastle was a cute little one, but quite intricate in detail. And Jeannie says the same thing. But it was small, but it was being built up more. Okay. And when you stopped and really looked at it, what was it that you saw that caught your attention? What was it about the sandcastle that intrigued you? And then I would like you to think about the person walking towards you. Oh, excuse me. Was it somebody you knew? And when the two of you walked down the beach together, how did you walk? Were you quite formal, or were you holding hands, or how did you walk down the beach before you started to play? Ah, Jeannie's saying what intrigued her about the sandcastle was the detail. Yeah. And so I find it really important that we understand that details are important in people's lives, Jeannie, right? And I am certain that you are somebody that values detail. And that is something to honor and be joyful for, all right? That you are somebody that appreciates the effort that people put into things. Jody's saying that when she was walking down the beach, she was hand in hand. She was walking hand in hand with her mom. And that had a joyful event to share. She had a joyful event to share with you. Yeah, it's just, isn't that wonderful? You had that moment to share with your mom, hand in hand. And then when you were playing in the water, Jody, and anybody else that cares to comment if they were in the meditation, when you ran and played in the water, did you worry about what was wrong with your body? Or did you just play, and feel like you were a kid again? And how about your mom? Was she having fun? And what I want you to understand is nothing changed except you cared to slow down with me and listen and be in the moment. All right, Jeannie's saying, yes, I am a detail-oriented, and sometimes people dislike that. I find it great when helping others. Why do you think I already knew that about you, Jeannie? You see, the thing is this, you hear me talk with great love about my friend Yvonne, and she is so detail-oriented, and I love her for it. It's just like Jeannie, some people get really fed up with it because they can't be there. That's not how their mind works. I value people with detail. I want to tell you, whenever I led a group of people, the first person I would ask for, who in here is an analytical? Who here is good on detail? I need to know. And somebody would go, I go, good. You're my right hand. What? Why do you think I value Jody so much, other than the fact she's such a great person? She's great on detail. And that's why she is a great person to support me in the work that I do, because Jody will remind me about things. I'm busy moving on to the next thing, and Jody will go, yeah, hello, we forgot about this one. Yes, you're normally the one that takes notes for everyone. Exactly, Jeannie. And you do that instinctively, right? It's not hard work for you. It's just what you do. And Jody brings me great joy by saying when she was doing that meditation, there was no physical limitation at all. Just laughing and being happy. That brings me great joy, obviously, Jody. With tears in my eyes. And remember, anybody who's listening to this, remember to visit your beach often. It's your beach now. You know what it looks like. You know how to get to it. And you can add to it or take things away from it, and you can just have it as your beach. How do you feel? Right now, do you feel peaceful, joyful? Do you feel glad that you spent the time to do that meditation. And, it wasn't that long, was it? And yet, what are the benefits? Do you think that at some level, every cell in your body is a little joyful right now? Nyasha, I know that you're feeling a bit sleepy, and that's fine. I think it would be a wonderful time not to force yourself to stay on, but to give yourself permission to sleep. This would be a great time to do that, if that is what you need to do. And so, what I want you to all understand is how often you relax like this is up to you. How often you feel joy is up to you. Emily Dickinson said, "Find ecstasy in life. The mere sense of living is not enough." How about this one? Sandra Bullock said, "Go find your joy. Whatever that is, go find your joy. You are going to have a good day, or you're going to have a great day, because it's completely up to you." I'm pretty sure that if you're a regular DearMamaSal viewer, you know that already. Because you can change how today is by changing how your mind thinks. And it was said that life does not have to be perfect to be filled with joy. And Jody's saying there's a very magical combination for me, hearing Sal's soothing voice discuss the beach. It's beach bliss. There you go, isn't that lovely? Jeannie's saying our Build a Ray call today, it led to disagreements with York about some things. The meditation relaxed me. There you go, Jeannie. It is my joy to have been able to help you with that. And Carlos Santana said, if you carry joy in your heart, you can heal any moment. And this one, Jeannie, I thought you would like this. It says, to have joy in your heart, you must know how to appreciate the small things in life. So those of you who are detail-oriented, when somebody gets picky about that, you go, yeah, I enjoy every small thing in life. That's why I enjoy being detail-oriented. And how about this? Let your joy spring forth from within. And somebody said, find joy in the journey. How many of you, when you were imagining walking down the stairs, found joy on the way down? You see, if you stop for a second and look around the room in which you're sitting right now and ask yourself, what is it in your purview? What is it you can see that brings you joy? And it's funny, my eyes stopped on my brass jugs that I brought all the way from England. I have two of them by my fireplace. And that's where my mind stopped. And oh yeah, that brings me great joy. That's part of my history right there. And so Richard Wagner said, joy is not things, it is in us. All right? You know that. You choose whether to be joyful or not. You have all that you need. Jody proved that even with her physical limitations, if she chooses to go run and play, she can do it in her mind if she needs to. She doesn't have to be limited by her physical body. And you know something, Nyasha? You know, in your mind, you can see beautifully, I'm sure. In your mind, you can run. In your mind, you can do these things. So do them. Bring the joy. It is said that find joy in everything you choose to do. Every job, relationship, home. It's your responsibility to love it or change it. I walked out yesterday in horror to see the amount of smoke that there was around my community. I could hardly see the sun for the amount of smoke that had been blown up from the fires in California and the fires from Washington State, Oregon, Washington State, all that smoke traveling to my backyard, literally. And I was horrified to hear that Vancouver was one of the most polluted places in the world yesterday. That made me, and imagine how far away we are from that smoke. And yet we ended up being, the smoke all sucked its way up our way. And I, for a moment, was devastated by that because I was pretty scared about that as well. And then I realized I have the ability to change. And then I noticed that the smell of smoke was in my house. And I was quite upset about that because I don't have air conditioning. And I'm wondering to myself, should I be wearing a mask inside my house at the moment? And then I walked to go to my washroom and realized I'd left the sliding door, the screen door was closed, but the sliding door in my craft room was open. And I went, yeah, that would be why it's pretty smoky inside my house. And then I burst out laughing because that's what I do. And went, okay, aren't I lucky to have doors? Think about that. Aren't I lucky to have doors on my house? And I closed most of the windows and I closed, the doors. And then I just thought, I'm so lucky, as Jeannie's saying, joy is knowing some of our family is now away from the Oregon fire. And that's what I thought about, Jeannie, how lucky I was that nobody I knew was in the path of that fire. And how about this one? When we are centered in joy, we attain our wisdom. Okay? Marianne Williamson said that. When we are centered in joy, when we don't let the outside world affect us, then we get more wisdom. And it was said that joy is untouched by circumstances. If you are a joyful person, whatever's going on around you will not affect you. Do you know what I have done to increase my joy over the past week? I have started not watching nearly as much news because I know that this, in fact, I actually did not listen to the news at all yesterday, which is unheard of for me. Because to me, it's like, as we get closer and closer to the election, I know I'm not going to enjoy what's going on. I know it's going to affect my joy to some degree. So I need to limit how much comes in. Now, I keep abreast of it. I check the news, but I'm not listening to it all the time. I'm just, once a day I check it to see, okay, what's going, actually twice a day I check to see what's going on, because I'm a news hound, but it's like, I don't want to be listening to it all. I don't want to hear all the nastiness. And I am pretty certain a lot of you feel that way. Joy, the kind of happiness that doesn't depend on what happens. Right? Joy is when you create that feeling inside yourself. Yes, Jeannie's saying the same thing, right? I must turn off the news sometimes because there's a Senate race that has horrible ads. Exactly. And we choose whether to watch them or not. And we choose, whether to be upset by them or not. The mute button is very helpful. Spread joy. Chase your wildest dreams. How many of you can now see that you can do whatever you want to do in your mind, even if you can't do it in reality? And you can still get the joy from doing them. If you always wanted to ride a horse, but for some reason you can't because of whatever your limitations are, you can do it in your mind. And how many of you would love to be on a horse galloping along that beach? And you can do that in your mind. Mark Twain said, the healthiest response to life is joy. The healthiest response to life is joy. And Mother Teresa said, where there is love, there is joy. Do you love life? Not do you love every moment of your life, but do you love life? Are you working hard to maintain life? I said to Jody when I first met her and I heard the incredible battle she was going through with her illnesses. And the first question I believe I asked when I really wanted to get to know her well was, Jody, do you want to live? Because at the moment I hear you dying. And I think it shocked her a bit, because if what she wanted to do was to continue on the path of dying, it's not for me to change that. But I wanted to find out, did she want to live? And it was amazing because the answer was yes. And everything that she's done since then has proven to me that, yes, she dropped her excuses. She's attempted so many things that she hadn't done before. And, she's had ups and downs. But, what I really get from Jody now is that she has learned how to enjoy every moment and be grateful for it. Yes, Jeannie's saying, I think of being back in our new home, but I am joyful, grateful to be in a nice apartment right now. Yes, absolutely. And be grateful that you were smart enough to have insurance, and be grateful that that you have got this far. Yes, to say, I've always wanted to go boat sailing on an ocean. Well, guess what? You can do that in your mind. And by the way, you can do that with so many YouTube videos today. All right. You know, anytime you want to go sail on the ocean, I think one of the joys of YouTube is if ever, you know, you can visit any museum in the world. You know, basically, there's so many things you can do on the internet today that makes any of those dreams. If you always wanted to travel but you can't afford to, boy, where would you like to travel to this week? Go visit it on the internet. Jody's saying that's exactly what you said. You asked me if I was going to choose to live. You can get busy living or stay idle dying, physically and mentally. Yeah. And look at all the joy, Jody, that you have had with your new to you freezer and filling it up by turning on, your new freezer and your new to you stove. You know, I keep thinking of the joy you must be having. And Lionel. I'm thinking I might actually get Nigel the Ninja to see if he can make some pastry. Now, I'm pretty sure that pastry is a no-no for my pre-diabetes, or a pretty big no-no. But I was thinking, what if I made little Danish pastries? And, you know, I could have one a week or something. You know, I'm certain that you'll help me do all the math on that so that I can decide how do I make it less dangerous for me. And my feeling is it depends what I put in it, right? If the Danish pastry had no sugar jam in it, it'd probably be a lot better. And what if I made it with almond flour pastry, if that is possible? It probably is. You see, this is how my mind works now. It's not that I can't have a Danish pastry. I just need my version of it. Yes, Jeannie's saying, oh, first of all, Nyasha's saying, yes, Jody, I told you I've changed. Those words MamaSal taught us are so deep in my mind that whenever I'm sick and have to be rushed to hospital, Sal shows up in my head and speaks to me. Well, you know something? That's really you showing up in your head, the new you. And I'm delighted that you can, you know, be prepared, not scared. And that's really important. And, you know, I found that interesting when Judy gave birth to baby Leah, and 1 minute she gave birth, and literally the next second they were rushing her to the operating theater. Can you imagine the incredible emotion? And when I spoke with Judy about that, the only thing she could do as they were rushing her to the operating theater was to pray. You know, and she didn't have time to say goodbye. She didn't have time to do anything. She just literally, they rushed her. And she just, you can imagine how terrified she was. And, you know, she just kept in her mind that she wanted to be back holding baby Leah. And she prayed that she would be able to do that. And then sure enough, then next time she woke up, that's what she was able to do. Jody's saying, make no bones about the fact that I'm here because of what Sal taught me, how to live again. Now, I flapped my lips. You know, you did the work, Jody. And Jody's saying, I have more joy in my life currently despite my limitations than I ever did without them. They don't preclude my joy anymore. Yeah. And that is the whole point, right? All right, so Niasha's saying, I can remember being in hospital bed, being rushed to emergency and having to get an EKG. Never had one before. I was scared. And then all of a sudden I can hear, get out of the hamster wheel. Seriously, Niasha? And for those of you who don't know what that is, and I didn't bring my whiteboard with me today, but I can do it. Which is when, you know, when you're caught in emotion of fear or something, you're just going round and round in circles. It's not helping you. It's not going to change the EKG or anything. You see, stop, get out of the emotion and get into reality. The reality is the EKG could save your life in as much as they can identify what's wrong. I think that is really impressive, Nyasha. And again, with tears in my eyes, it is wonderful to hear that story. Thank you. And Jody, I wonder if we can do a timestamp roundabout now, because I would love to just have that as a moment in the broadcast. And Jody, I will go back and find the one for you as well. How about this one? Be committed to living in constant joy. Okay? Do you understand, when I realized my starter door was destroyed because of the possibility of broken glass in it, it was a split second of, oh, no, yeah, short word, it's ruined. I have to throw it all away. It's not worth the risk. And then, even if I hadn't got the spare sitting in my fridge, I realized that it was not the end of the world. I had yeast in my fridge. I've got spare, the spare, and yeast in my fridge. You know what I mean? It was like I had so many options. And so to me, when we can see that we control the amount of joy that we have, I am pretty certain that any of you that have puppies in your life, oh, that's amazing. Sandy's saying that the bread is out. Does it look good, Sandy? On a scale of 1 to 10, how joyful are you feeling right now? How proud of yourself are you feeling right now? And when will you bake the next loaf? Are you just Jeannie's saying constant joy is being an optimist even in pessimistic circumstances. Absolutely. All right. And yes, just saying, I'm not scared anymore. Things I normally would be. Yeah. And that is the whole thing. That is, you've grown. And that, you hear me talk about emotional intelligence, Nyasha. These are all steps in being more emotionally intelligent. You can see now that piece of paper how long ago was it that the doctor gave you that piece of paper that told you what you needed to do, the one that you didn't understand and scared you, and you put it away? How long ago were you given that piece of paper? Sandy's saying she's pretty proud of herself for that loaf of bread. Right, your first one, definitely, I would take the picture and frame it myself, but yes. And Sandy, I want to tell you that I baked a loaf yesterday that I think was the best loaf that I have ever baked. It was, that one I sent you a picture of. I want to tell you the crust on that was so beautiful, crispy and everything. And then the inside was just awesome. And I just, and again, Nyasha, listen to this. Nyasha, the reason I learned how to bake sourdough bread is I found out that sourdough bread is something that if you are pre-diabetic or diabetic, sourdough bread is something that has far less sugar in it. Did you know that one? So if you learn how to bake, or if you buy sourdough bread, it is less harmful to you. Oh, I want to tell you something, Jody. When I cut that, I thought it was pretty interesting. When I actually bit into it, and I'm going back to get some more after this. I have not, I've been fasting all day, so I can go back and enjoy some of it. And Joseph Campbell, as I said you can choose to live in joy, right? Or you can choose to spend your life complaining about everything, giving excuses for everything or whatever. And quite honestly, My life has taught me. I had a lot of excuses in my life for things, why I smoked, why I hadn't done this, why I had done that, but the truth is, I wasted a lot of my life with excuses. Today, I start every day again. It doesn't matter how busy I was yesterday. What am I going to do about it today? And by the way, I had great joy this week. I literally sent an email off to my financial guy and said, okay, we need to have an online meeting because I need to do a bit of investing and I just need some more information before I decide what to do with it. And that's big procrastination for me, that I've been not doing that step. And I am now going to, okay, fine, let me just move some of this money. I don't have a whole lot, so I'm scared. I am certain that makes sense to all of you. And by the way, I don't know, where do I put it? What's going to happen after the election? Will the economy get worse or better after this next election? It's scary stuff. And then I keep reminding myself how lucky I am to have this problem. If you think about it, the joy I have to have this problem, and because most people don't have to worry about where they're going to invest their money because they haven't got any. And so you understand, it's how I choose to look at it. And Jeannie's saying happy people make friends more easily than unhappy ones. Yes. Yes. And Niasha saying how much she used to be manipulated because she wanted people to like her. Yeah. And, this interesting thing about that, though, Niasha, it was the big lie, wasn't it? When I say the big lie, but, people didn't like you for who you really were. They liked you for who you pretended to be. Let me not say that because that might not be true. But to me, when I think back in my life, very few people knew the real me. You know what I mean? I was so busy being smarter than everybody else. I was so busy being so successful and all the very few people knew the real me. And that I hurt and that I felt things at a very deep level, that why I was busy covering all that up. I wasn't real. And one of the joys that I've had about being DearMamaSal is, how many times do you watch me now and I'm talking to you about something and, literally the tears will start coming out of my eyes. I don't have fear of who I am and that I feel anymore. I just am who I am. And that is the difference. So I have great joy in having all of you here today. Thank you. I have great joy in knowing that I've got fresh bread as a treat at the end of this. And I have great joy in knowing that somewhere that we may never know, all of you will be part of a broadcast that could have changed somebody's life. And I want you all to know how much I appreciate the fact you're there. Sandy, when you cut into that loaf and eat it, the picky little so-and-so inside you will probably nitpick it to death. Well, it could have been crispier and it could have been this and it could have been that. I don't want you to eat it that way. I want you to cut yourself a slice and eat that and literally say to yourself, this is the greatest sourdough loaf I ever made in my life. Because that will be true if I am correct. You will never, ever again make your first sourdough loaf. And you've done it. Celebrate yourself. And by the way, you may have created a bit of a monster. As you know, I now bake for the community on Mondays. And it's just like, it's the best loaf you've ever baked, Sandy. It's incomparable with anything. You've never baked a better one. Be happy. Kimmy, great to see you. I hope you're feeling a little bit better and that the antibiotic kicked in. I do need to go So what I want to do is give you all a big hug and to tell you that joy is what we feel. Joy is so much fun, and we choose it every day. This is DearMamaSal saying, remember to look after one another. And I thank you all. I want to thank Kimmy and Sandy, Jody, everybody, Isabel as well, all of you that have been helping, everybody in the fitness group to understand things better. When we get overwhelmed with something, there is so much to learn. And it's amazing if we can just help people take one little step every day, they will learn much more quickly. I want to tell you that I know that I learned more from Jody than I did from the nutritionist. And the reason I did is she did it at my pace. You know what I mean? She, I would literally be looking for, how do I swap this out? What can I do? And, Jody would be my sounding board. And then I'd get inspired and I'd go and play in the kitchen until I made something that worked for me. And so thank you, Jody. Without that, I don't think I'd be cooking sourdough bread. And I'm thinking a lot of treats are in making. Nigel, the Ninja, and I are going to be making treats that are less harmful. So everybody, we will see you soon. This is DearMamaSal saying, look after one another, but most of all, of course, please. Please, please, please. No excuses. Look after yourself. You have spent a lifetime. You deserve this. It is not being selfish. It is the best you can be. This is DearMamaSal saying, bye-bye for now.